In this video, I smash a ton of invasive fish. I dive some really beautiful conditions, and I do it all while using a broken 3-prong pole spear. I hope you guys enjoy. After about 15 minutes of swimming, I came across these beautiful coral heads. I saw a roy making his way across the bottom, and I decided this was a good time to take my first drop. I load up my spear and get all dialed in to get my first fish of the day. He stares at me for a second, and I smash him. It's a perfect start to the dive. It is absolutely beautiful down here. There is so much life. I spot another roy, and it's back down for round 2. These roy are a super invasive fish here in Hawaii, and this video is the perfect example of that. You can see there's so many roy in this frame, I'm having trouble choosing which one to go after. 2 of them hide, and I decide to kind of lock in on this little one. Right before I shoot it, that big one stuck his head out, but I was already committed. You can see that when I hit that guy, my 3-prong totally bent. This head is a bit over a year old, and it is super rusted. After a year of shooting roy, that was the last straw. This spear tip is in rough shape. It is literally falling apart in my hands. For some people, that would be their sign to turn around and go in, but I had already spent all the time paddling out here, and I was not going to give up that easy. I took another drop on a roy, and by the time I hit the bottom, I had already lost 2 out of the 3 points on my 3-prong. I don't know what you call a 3-prong with 1 point, but if you do, let me know. This thing was in super rough shape now, but as long as my 1 point held solid, I was going to keep at it. These scuba divers totally blew up my zone, but once they were gone, I went down for another drop. I locked onto this roy, but he made the smart choice to take cover. Since I wasn't going to get that fish, and I was already down here at the bottom, I decided to just settle in next to the coral heads and see what else decided to come by. I can see these kole hanging out, and a couple of these blue striped snapper, but nothing too close. The snapper comes in, and I actually ended up missing him. He was staring right at me, but I'm not deterred, and I keep on waiting. I'm thinking about taking this hogfish right here. I got a perfect shot, but I don't really feel like eating him tonight, so I just let him cruise on by. Eventually, this blacktail snapper comes in, and I decide he's the one. I smash him with the spear, and he does a couple spins and comes right off. Without the 3-prong, there was no tension holding him against the spear, and I didn't really have a shot. I know it's possible to get fish with the spear, and I don't want to injure anymore, so I need to totally switch it up for my next dive. The first part of my strategy is still the same. I hit the bottom on these coral heads, and decide to wait to see what comes in. I look around for a second, and right away that roy pops his head up to look at me from above the shelf. Then this little blacktail comes in, but he's not that curious. That roy is really staring at me though, so I move in. But this time I'm going to do things differently. I smash him with the spear right before he gets away, and I'm using it to pin him down against the rock. Even with the 1 point, I'm able to keep him there on my spear, and I secure him, and now it's time to take him back up to my world. I hit the bottom again, but this time there's something much more interesting hanging out nearby. Out in front of me, on the edge of the shelf, there's a huge school of moo. I've never gotten one before with a proper 3-prong, but I'm still going to give it my best try with the single point. I settle in and decide to do some grunts. I give it a minute, but these guys seem totally uninterested. In the meantime, these kole are swimming around looking pretty good. The grunts do end up pulling in these blue striped snapper though, and so I line up on the one that wants to say hi. I pin him against the coral, and it's just a matter of time before I get him fully on my spear. I didn't get any fish on this next dive, but check out these roy saying hi. After spending a lot of time on the bottom over the last few dives, I decided to hit these roy with a classic dive bomb. By this point, I had already gotten a pretty good coulee full of invasive fish, and I wasn't done yet. I spotted this promising looking ledge and decided to dive down to investigate. Under the ledge, I spot this fat roy staring right at me. I really take my time to line up the shot, and I smash him. It's almost a stone shot, but he gets a burst of energy and wiggles off. I start looking around, but I can't find him anywhere. I know this roy is pretty injured, so I take another dive and check all these little holes to see if I can find him anywhere, but unfortunately he never showed up again. It's really tough knowing that if I had a working 3-prong, I absolutely would have smoked that guy, but There's still more roy out there, so I'm not done yet. I found a deeper zone, and so I decided to take a drop off this ledge and see what was down there. Right away, I'm just seeing lots of kole and a lot of these invasive snappers. I settle in, and I'm prepared to wait a while and really take my time to see if something good comes in. But right away, these blue striped snapper turned right towards me, and I smashed him with the 3-prong. Check out how cool this zone is. Right below me here is a huge anchor with a bit of chain trailing behind it. I'd seen this anchor before, but it was pretty low visibility that day, so this is my first time really checking it out in these beautiful water. This thing is huge, and it was really cool being able to take a drop next to it and just check everything out. I didn't shoot any fish on this dive, but it was just so beautiful being down here with the school Nui. I start making my way back in, and check out how cool this is. It's a big Moana Kali with a little Omilu, and these guys are totally friends. They're following each other around everywhere for a couple of minutes before I even started filming. I dive down and hit the bottom to try to call them over, but they don't come. I don't think I'd even really want to shoot these guys. It was such a beautiful thing seeing them swimming around together. But I saw Roy behind me. He doesn't come out either, and it's back up to the surface for me. You have to have a super sharp eye to even see this Roy, and an even sharper shot to land it. Let's see if I can do it. I thread the needle perfectly and smash this guy. That was a super tough shot, but I was able to execute it perfectly, and I'm really proud of this one. Man, those roosters are not letting up. I'm recording in the early morning, and I definitely have to pay a little bit of a price for that. I smash one more invasive in the shallows, and I'm all ready to head in. Considering the deplorable state of my 3-prong, this ended up being a super good session. I'm really happy with my kui at the end of the day here. I paddled out again a few days later, and it's safe to say that conditions were not quite as idyllic. I spotted these juicy guys on the paddle out, but it wasn't lobster season, so I just gave them a little tickle. Look at the difference in visibility today. This is the exact same zone that I was diving at earlier in the video. Anyways, I got a brand new 3-prong on this thing, so let's test it out on this Roy. Worked perfectly. No need to pin it against the rocks or anything. This huge Roy gets away from me, so I shift my attention to the tasty snapper. I smash another Roy, and despite the poor conditions, I am not struggling at all. I drop down into the school of Nightmare Veke and immediately startle this Roy. I line up on him, and I take another one off the reef. Even though the visibility is really poor from the surface, once you get down here, it's still just as beautiful. I got back into this zone of beautiful coral heads, and as I approached the bottom, I looked to my left, and I saw this school of nice-sized Omilu. I immediately started doing some grunts to try to pull them over, and at first it looked like they were just going to ignore me and swim away, but I kept going, and then they doubled back and started coming right at me. I thought this was my chance to get a nice-sized Omilu on the pole spear, but right before they get into range, they turn away, and they actually didn't come back in. It was still really beautiful to see them down there, though. I wasn't going to give up that easy though, so I hit the bottom a little bit deeper and further off the shelf, and immediately started doing some grunts again. I looked around and didn't see much besides some Roy. I took my time, and you can see I'm looking up there towards the top of the shelf where the Omilu were before. I wait for a while, and nothing ends up coming in, so I decide to cruise across the reef and line up on this monster Roy. I smash him with the spear, and the hit feels super solid. This guy is no small Roy. As I cruise back up towards the surface, I see this little school of beautiful kumu. On my next dive, I spotted this Roy hanging out in this house, and this is a straight up eviction. It's a perfect shot too. I went for the dive bomb on this Roy, and it looks like he thought he got away from me, and then he made the classic mistake of peeking his head right back out. After that Roy and a couple hours in the water, I decided it was time to head in, so I braved the shore break and made it out safely. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, consider it, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.